Good morning. I am Ana Márquez-Román from the University of Málaga, and today I'm going to present you a part of the research that we have been carrying out for a few years through this brief communication prepared together with Encarnación Soto Gómez and entitled The Educational Space, Builder of a New Teaching Being, Impact of Aesthetic Spatial Design on the Transformation of Teaching Practical Knowledge. I apologize in advance for my English because I know it's not very good and the idea of the communication is a bit complex, but I hope it's understood. In this research, we understand that each of the acts that make up our professional teaching development are closely linked to our educational conceptions. That is, the way we present an activity, the way we interact with the students, and also the way we prepare the classroom space speaks of our image of childhood and our image of education. In this sense, the aesthetic design of the educational space acquires a fundamental role since it's one of the key factors that make visible the practical knowledge or theories in use by teachers, often distant from their proclaimed theories. In other words, the space becomes a snitch of the distance between what they say and what they do in their classes. That is the importance of this research because despite the fact that in recent decades there have been great changes in the ideas explicitly maintained by teachers in relation to the educational process, these changes don't seem to have been transferred to classroom practice, given so that our schools are not much different today from what they were years ago. We therefore focus on describing and analyzing the experience of transformation lived by a group of teachers of early childhood education in Spain. Regarding the research methodology, it's evident that we are facing a study focus that cannot be measured objectively, but rather places us in an experience lived and felt by the actors. And that is why the qualitative approach, and specifically the case study, appears as the most appropriate to approach these conceptions and personal evaluation criteria. On the other hand, the data collection techniques have been diverse, including the observation and pedagogical documentation of the different learning environments and of the performance of the teachers in them, a discussion group with these same teachers, and document analysis. Getting into the results, it's important to say that, like all stories, the story of this group of teachers of Frida Kahlo School also has a beginning, and it is the visit of two teachers to this center that you see in the photo, which is the public school El Martinet in Barcelona, Spain. And inspired by the beauty of this Catalan school and its conception of the educational process, the teachers began the transformation of their practice towards more active and free models. And for this, the teachers began to develop a methodology based on the redistribution of space by areas of experience and not by levels as usual, allowing boys and girls of different ages to share experience together in different spaces called environments that don't resemble the usual classrooms but are spaces with different proposals. In this way, and after 4 years of experience, the spaces of the Frida Kahlo School present a completely different organization from the usual one and are no longer classrooms with tables and chairs where you must sit in silence, but rather they are open spaces with free movement that offer different learning possibilities. From this methodological transformation, we were able to begin to draw some of the aesthetic criteria of the teachers from the declarative point of view. They defended the existence of a balance in the whole environment, the simplicity in the spaces, the use of less strident colors, the preference for natural and recycled materials, or the other. However, the observation of the aspect that the learning environments presented added other nuances to the discourse. The space became, as we have said, a privileged showcase of his theories in use or practical knowledge, where in some cases certain dissonances appeared. For example, regarding the nature of the resources, furniture and plastic objects still persisted in the different environments, with infantilized prints and strident colors that contrasted with the teacher's inclination towards natural materials. In addition, elements such as the blackboard, the teacher's table, and the bulletin board were still present in the classroom, useful resources in a pedagogy of homogeneity and discourse. Also, the harmony in the spaces was truncated by the accumulation and disorder of the material that had fallen into disuse, despite the fact that order was considered by some of them as the main factor to create an aesthetic space. The walls, meanwhile, continue to be dressed with images of a caricatural and infantilized type that denote a still stereotyped childhood image, although it's true that this reality was not predominant and coexisted with a new sensibility. Laura, tutor of one of the 4-year-old classes, says, "At school, especially in early childhood education, everything has always been infantilized. Everything with very bright colors, and it's quite the opposite." Despite this, it did appear timidly a leading role from childhood, with the exhibition of works made by students as well as photographs of them in different environments. However, as seen in the images, there was still a way to go to accommodate these productions in a careful way in the environment. Despite these contradictions between what the teacher said and what the environment showed, we could see how the transformation they were experiencing were gradually moving towards a rapprochement between their proclaimed theories and their theories in use. An example was the transformation experienced in the logical mathematical environment, and that can be seen here. With all this, we can conclude that the methodological and spatial transformation becomes the seed for these teachers to begin to rethink their own practice, reprogramming their already automatic cognitive and emotional mechanisms. A long process where contradictory pedagogical principles inevitably coexist, since practical knowledge, strengthened by the experience of a fundamentally academic school that each teacher has had, requires slow processes of reflection and grounded action. Practical knowledge is a set of intuitive habits that we can only transform into practical thinking through the incorporation of new habits built in reflective processes in a relation to new knowledge and new practices. The discovery of this research is that the nature of spatial aesthetics seems to favor this reconstruction, because in our search for the beauty of space, as a purely human value that it is necessary not only to attend to intuition, but also to our logical thinking. That is, to mental processes more related to consciousness, such as reflection, because to be on the side of beauty is to always go against the current of our need for adaptation. It is to move in a continuous state of non-conformity and reflection. The nature of the aesthetics of space is an especially powerful factor in this reconstruction of practical knowledge, because architecture operates fundamentally in the pre-conscious and corporeal realm of our consciousness. It confronts us with questions of identity and memory, of the conscious and the unconscious. Reflecting on the essence of space and our action in it, therefore takes us away from the purely physical properties and introduces us into the psychic territory of the mind. And it is from where we can become aware and reconsider our learned ways of understanding and reacting, as well as reformulating those that we consider inappropriate for our teaching performance. That is why, to end this communication, we consider it important to continue asking ourselves, what do school spaces reveal about our image of childhood and education? a question that will make visible the roots of our most unconscious beliefs and ideas, thus seeking the development of an educational philosophy and a way of being a teacher consistent with a truly educational process. Thank you very much for your attention, and if you have any doubts, don't hesitate to ask.